So this is the slanting edge of the left shoulder, and we're going to pick up stitches from the neck opening on the right side to the arm hole on the left. So what we want to do is go into the hole in between the edge stitch and the stitch in front of it. So that's your edge stitch where you've got the 2 bars from the last stitch on the row, and here is the stitch in front. And what you want to do is pick up a stitch in between those 2 stitches. So let's go to my first stitch. So here's the neck opening, and I'm going to pick up the first stitch here, and you can see I've got the 2 legs of the edge stitch. Okay, and we want to get our working yarn, and you want to keep this quite nice and tight. And now I pass the tail into my right hand and just hold it along with the needle. Hold it quite nice and tightly, and then you want to bring your needle over the top of that yarn and bring it to the front, and then pull that loop through the work to the front. Okay, I'll just grab the tail now, keep it nice and tight. So if you lift the work up, you'll be able to see a little bar, and this second stitch can be quite tricky. You can see 1 bar, 2 bars there, and you want to go in the hole in between those 2 bars. So put your needle in from the front to back, then you go over the top of the yarn and pull the loop through. And then the next one's easier again. So you want to put your needle through that hole, over the top of the yarn at the back, and pull through. And then you can see the next vertical bar here. You want to go to the left of that, putting your needle from the front to the back, and then over the back of the yarn and bring it forward. And you can see the next hole there. So you go through the hole, over the back of the yarn and pull it forward. And if you stretch your fabric, you can see the next vertical bar, and the hole to the left of that bar is where you want to go now. Now I'm picking up stitches at a ratio of 1 to 1, and sometimes your pattern will say to pick up the stitches at a ratio of 3 in every 4. And if that's the case, you want to pick up 3 and then miss a stitch. You just want to skip one of those holes and then continue again for the next 3. Now, I think that picking up stitches like this, although it's incredibly neat and makes a lovely edge, it can be a little bit fiddly. So I'm going to undo this now, and I'm going to show you a little hack, a way that I find it a little bit simpler. And this works well if you have your increases on every single row and you have a few stitches before you made the increase. And now I'm going to show you a way which I think is a lot less fiddly, and this way involves picking up the stitches through the centre of the stitch worked before the edge stitch. So in this example, I have my edge stitch here. Those are the 2 legs of my edge stitch, and then in front of that I have another stitch. Let me see if I can get both of those legs here. And what you want to do is take your needle straight through the centre of that stitch to the back, and then you get your working yarn, nice long tail, and wrap it round your hand and hold on to it quite tight. And then you want to go over the yarn at the back with your needle, hold it relatively tightly, and then just pull that loop through and onto your needle. And then you can see, once you've got that first stitch, you've got a lovely row of holes in the centre of the stitches that are to be picked up. And all you do is put your needle into the centre of the next stitch. Then you go over the yarn at the back and pull the loop through. And again, you can keep it quite tight. You can see the next hole. You go from front to back, and you go over the yarn at the back, and you pull the loop through. And you just continue working this chain of stitches like this. So into the center of the next stitch, up and over the yarn at the back, and then you pull the loop through. Then you go into the center of the next stitch and to the back. You go, you bring your needle over the back of, over the top of that yarn and pull it through to the center of the next stitch, over and pull through. Oopsie, I missed that one. Let's try again. Okay. Now, although you want to keep it tight while you're pulling the loop of yarn through, you do want to make sure they come back onto the needle and they don't get too tight on your needle, because then you have trouble later on picking up the final stitches. And once you get the hang of it, it can be quite fun. Now, this method works really well, as I said before, if you have increases away from the edge stitch. If in your pattern it says knit one and then make your increase, it can get a little bit messier and more fiddly to do. But if your pattern says to knit 2 or 3 before making your increase, and especially if your increases are made on both the right and wrong side of the rows, then this can be a really beautiful way of picking up stitches. So I think I'm nearly there. My stitches are starting to get tight. I need to put them back on. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay, I just need 2 more. You can see at the front, it's already looking beautiful. And I'll just work these 2 stitches and then I'll show you what it looks like at the back. So there's 1 more. Sorry, maybe I need to be further away. I'm still learning. And then again. Okay, so those are all my stitches now. And I'll just show you what this looks like at the back of the work. So the seam looks very beautiful. It is a little bit more bulky. You can see that makes a little flap, which does add a tiny bit of bulk for the seam. But when you have this detail where you're working a few stitches before making your increase, this seam is a feature in itself anyway, so it just tucks in really nicely. I've actually finished the right shoulder of this, so I'll show you that now. And I picked them up in the same way. So this is from the right side of the work, and it looks very neat. And from the back, you can see again, the edge stitch just sits flush in the purl stitches of that seam. And it feels really good, it doesn't feel bulky. So I'm very happy with that. And I do like things when they're simple. I mean, if you're a beginner and this is the first time you've picked up stitches along the slanting edge, you don't want it to be so challenging that you don't want to do it again. And this way is fun and very effective.